Hello everyone, and welcome to my corner of the world. And today I'm going to bring a funky fold, but a very simple, straightforward fold. And as we're coming up to the holiday season, I thought it might be a neat one to do a gift card holder. So I have a simple card with a little pocket at the end that you can then slip a gift card and write your to you and love from me in here, and then it will go in the post, fit into a medium-sized envelope and go into the post. So let's make a start on what we're going to do here. So I have a piece of cardstock that is half a sheet of A4, which is, because I'm still getting used to the measurements, so it's 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, and you can do a sheet of letter, half a sheet of letter, which will give you 5 1/2 by 4 by 8 1/2, and just score in the middle like that. So that's easy enough. And then you're going to take your trimmer, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut a small segment that's going to create our pocket. And all I did here, and it doesn't matter which way that you do this, while the card's blank, because you can flip it round. So let's see, I actually made my cut at 1 1/2. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to pop my card edge at 1 1/2. I'm going to line my cut blade up here with my center fold to make sure that everything's all lined up. Not quite, Cindy. That looks better. And then just put my cut in. So there I have an easy cut, and I've got my piece to form my pocket. Now with my decorative paper, I'm going to be putting a piece here, and then on my inside I'm going to put a little strip as well, just to sort of carry it through here. Now for this one, I'm going to be using this paper. I figured that this would be quite good for a fella, and it would be quite good if you were doing for another holiday like Hanukkah. Although it's not quite the true blue, it certainly is a good blue. So we're going to have to make sure that with this paper, I've got my pattern going in the right direction. This one didn't matter so much because it was just like a grid, and it's the same both ways. So we're going to have to make sure we get our paper in the right way. I also need to make sure that my strips here are exactly the same size. So instead of sort of cutting separate strips, I'm to start with, I am going to, when I can find a more accurate ruler than this old school one, and I know I had one here earlier. Oh, Cindy, what have you done with it, girl? Oh, there. I'm going to have basically a 1/8 inch border. So this is like 4 1/8. So I'm going to cut it at 4, and I need to make sure it's this away. So I'm going to cut a 4-inch piece off of here. So if you struggle with working out layers, then this is sort of quite an easy way to do things. So there's my spare piece, and then these are going to go like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it so that it kind of follows on from one another. And so this first piece here is it's 1.5, so I'm going to cut it at 1 3/8. You could do like a 1/4 inch difference, which will give you a 1/8 border. What did I say I needed? 1 3/8. 1 3/8. So that gives me this piece here, like that. And then my other piece, I need, it's 4 1/4 inches. So I need 4 1/8. So I'm going for a 1/16 of an inch border all round. So 4 1/8. And that gives me this piece there. So that looks good, doesn't it? Because the leaves are following on from one another. I think that looks really, I like that effect. And then I want a tiny piece to just go inside. And I think I just cut this at an easy 1/2 inch. So we'll just go 1/2 inch like that. And then I've got all my pieces. And so I think I could probably do a second card exactly the same. Look at that. Ooh, that is quite by accident that's like 6 inches, but I can do a second card, which would be great for a fella. There's a with these blues, and not too sort of fussily Christmassy, so it would do great for birthdays. This idea, graduation, gifts, and all sorts. So there's our pieces. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my inside piece. This is where we're going to write the "To You, Love from Me," and we're just going to add a little bit of adhesive here so that we can stick this piece down. And I know I'm going to have to trim this because obviously I cut it. Oh no, I don't. Ooh. Yeah, because I cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter, and my piece of card here is also shorter. I'm just going to give a little trim there. I just got the whisker, just the tiniest whisker. There we go. So we're going to pop that piece in now before I forget, and stick my pocket down. Right. Center that up and give it a good, I don't know where my smoosher is. I'm still getting used to my new craft room, my new corner of the world. And I've put things away that I can't always find again, but I will. Now we're going to do the pocket. So I am going to start with adding a very thin strip of double-sided tape. Let's see, what is this? It's 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to pop it along this end as close as possible. So this is like belt and braces, or for my American friends, belt and suspenders. So I'm going to use this little piece of tape to start with, and then I'm going to add some liquid adhesive, and just to make absolutely sure that this is stuck down firmly, because you're going to be shoving a piece of card in there, and you don't want it to fall out. So there, give that a good old burnished to make sure that it's not going anywhere. And then we'll add some, oh, that's good tape, look, see. My piercing tool stuck to it. Oh, I got a bubble on there, look at that. Off you go, bye-bye. And then just a tiny little bead of adhesive here. And then we're just going to fold that down like that. Now, I saw this idea on one of those Facebook shorts, and I'm going to try and give a shout out to the person who shared it. However, those shorts are so short that by the time I'd watched it, I missed who did it, and then I couldn't find it. And so I really am grateful to that person, whoever you are, for sharing this idea. So we're just going to give that a bit of a rub just to make sure everything is stuck down, and then your card, and even cash will go in here. You could pop cash in, or a check if you still write checks. And then we can go ahead and add this strip here. The only thing when you use such fine margins is you've got to make sure that you get it all lined up. And that's part of the reason I like to use liquid, is that you do get some sort of wiggle room to actually move your paper around. Right, so we're not going to stick this bit down just yet. I want to do some fancy stuff on the front. So I'm going to do the same as I did here, and I'm going to use a die set which I'm sure is retired now, but it was called Christmas Label Dies, and it's got an accompanying stamp set. So we're going to do a little bit of fancy, and I'm going to just share with you sort of how I did this bit when the die actually cuts out a whole piece. So I'm going to get my little die cutter, and we're going to need some more card, which I know I had. Oh, for goodness sake, it's fallen on the floor. Right, so we're going to pop in, that's a weeny bit on the big side, so let's just put my die on to see what I need. I'm going to just trim this piece off. Now this is called Lost Lagoon, this card. It's probably one of my most favourite ones that Stampin' Up ever did. It's back in the family of colours, permanent colours. And before I flip it, before I take it off, I'm going to look to see my cut. Now, hopefully you can see, I haven't got ever such a good cut here and here, although my other cut is really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in upside down, and more often than not, that second run through with it upside down just puts a bit of extra pressure on those fancy pieces, and slowly. You don't want to do it too fast. Give the roller the time to make that cut. And I think if you can see, hopefully you can see now, try and hold it up, we've got a nice cut here and here. So we're going to ping that out, and we've got these pretty fancy pieces which we would normally toss away. However, I thought they were really pretty, and I actually stuck them on the other card, and I'll see if we can stick it on this card as well. So let's just loosen those up, get them out. There. Fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. Normally I just use my little brush, but I want to use them, so that's why we got that. And then this piece, you can see there's just a few little pieces left. Sometimes you can just get rid of them by flicking. Other times you just need to give them a little bit of a poke, and they are, that's done. So now I need to make my other piece, my white piece. So we have a piece of white, and I'm just going to cut it and run that through. Get rid of that piece. We don't need that piece anymore. And because I don't want this to move too much, I am going to go ahead and just put a little bit of tape just to hold it in place. Right, so we're going to cut this again. Now this one is not going to be cutting all the fancy pieces. We're just going to get a plain shape. So let's just cut that through nice and slow. Right, so this is the piece that we want, the bit in the middle. Let's just get that out, and you can see that it's still joined. So I'm just going to take my let's get some finer paper snips. I'm just going to line up my snips with the edge like that. And then I've got a piece that will fit in my space. There we go. Let's clear my bits up because I hate having bits. And then that is going to fit on there. Let me get a piece of that make it easier to see. That's how it's going to fit. So I am going to use this ink, this paper here. The background of this paper is a mixture of these two colour inks, Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. So I'm going to use the darker of the two to put my greeting in. And we're going to do a little test, get some scratch paper. I like to do a test first. Now, it doesn't always come out perfect on scratch paper because the surface hasn't been polished, but that is pretty darn good. So now I feel happy to get this greeting on here. Give it a moment for the ink to transfer. There. I'm loving that. That is gorgeous. Right. So I've got my three pieces here. And then I've got my little fancy pieces here. So let's see. Do they show up? Well, kind of. Oh, well, let's just do it anyway. Because then you've got the card that both ways. So let's just put a tiny little bit of adhesive. Now this is a water-based adhesive that I'm using. But you could use whatever works for you. Right, so let's go ahead and I'll just pop that one down there. And then the other one, well, darn me, where did that, oh, there it is. What is it they say with crafting? Spend 5 minutes crafting and half an hour looking for something you've just put down and it's underneath your nose. That's partly the reason, you know, that I've got this great big thing on my scissors, because I put scissors down and I can never find the wretched things, and it just drives me to distraction. Right, so there we got some fancy bits. So I now got some nice ribbon, lovely bit of ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it across here like that, and so that it doesn't move while I'm working it, I'm going to put some of this tape down again, just to hold it in place. And then there we go. I just need to make sure that I have enough room like this, or enough to tuck underneath. There we go. And then we'll just get this stuck down. Now I did think about popping this up onto some double-sided sticky pads, but then I thought about that and just thought, well, I'll do the bit that's got the greeting on. I think that would work better, give it a bit of a pop. And so we're going to center it up like that. And then just trim off. Now, do you have a pair of scissors dedicated to ribbon? I do. These are ones I just marked it up with a bit of ribbon, so I know that they're there. I find then that if you have a pair of scissors dedicated to ribbon, because paper will dull the edge of your scissors in a heartbeat, but if you have a pair of scissors dedicated, then you're going to not have a problem with it the edge being chewed of your ribbon. My mother, who was a tailor, she used to hide her dressmaking scissors from us, because as kids we didn't think twice about it. Scissors was scissors. Heavens, what a fuss, mother. But yeah, she used to hide her scissors from us, so that she always knew she had some nice sharp scissors when it came to her next project. So there we've got that little piece all sorted out. I'm kind of liking the fact that this is fairly like a single color. Was it monochromatic? Yeah, that's the word. Whereas the other one that I did was like very sort of Christmassy colors, red and green. But this, I quite like the fact that this is sort of turning into a bit of a monochrome. Right. And then I'm going to use some sticky pads. Here we go again. They're right under my nose here. So I'm just going to use some sticky pads, double-sided sticky pads, to attach this. And I'm only going to put it to the top and the bottom. I'm not going to put one in the middle because I want it to try and sit snugly to the ribbon. And so my ribbon is actually going to sort of pass through the middle there. And then I think we're nearly done. But I might just want to put a little bow on it. So this is at an angle, like that. Let's just pop this. And I just do a little bow. I have got videos on bows, but basically I use the rabbit ear method. So just search my channel and you'll find that I've got about 3 or 4 little videos on mastering ribbon for your cards. There's a double bow, there's faux knots, single bow. Because I just love to use ribbon on my cards. I think it just brings it up an extra level of lusciousness when you've got ribbon. And so we're going to stick that on. So it looks like I have tied it. See? It looks like I've tied it round there, and we all know how difficult it can actually be to wind ribbon round a card and get it nice and tight without it being all sort of floppy and flappy. Plus, having ribbon round the back is a bit of a waste. And if you send cards overseas, like I do, it adds to the weight. And so by doing that, it can keeps the weight down a little bit. And this, I had some nice coordinating sequins, but for the one that I'm going to, this one, I don't. So I'm just going to put a few rhinestones. Now, if I knew I was going to do this for a fella, I probably wouldn't put the rhinestones down. But at the moment, I'm not quite sure whether this is going to be for a fella or what. But as I showed you, I've got some spare that I could actually do a fella. One for a fella without the rhinestones. There we go. And we just put another couple. We put some on here just to highlight the fancy bit that we put in there. There we go. I think that is it. So there we have, as I say, a very easy fold, but perfect for the time of year, because we have Christmas coming up and other holidays where, you know, gifts are given, and the kids these days, they don't want gifts, they want money. And so I think that this is a perfect solution. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. If you have enjoyed it, perhaps you'll go ahead, give me a thumbs up. I certainly appreciate you choosing to spend some time with me today, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye now.